Well, good evening, and it's just wonderful to be with so many wonderful friends tonight. And I think the Lord's going to talk to us tonight. And Craig and I look forward to this an awful lot. He's over there on the camera if you just wondered who Craig is. But anyway, he's a blessing to me, and he's a blessing to you. I hope maybe you've got a pen and a pencil tonight. You might want to take a few little things down and just rehearse them again. So if you do, just grab them there and we're ready to go. What I'm going to share with you tonight are the secrets of a giant killer. You say, oh, Ruth Ann, come on, get real. Have you been to a movie lately or something, Ruth Ann? What are you talking about, giants? We don't have giants anymore. Maybe something on the TV. Maybe you had a dream. No, I'm not talking about that giant. I'm talking about the giants that go around with us every day of our lives. Yes, they frighten us. They taunt us. They defy us. They won't leave us alone. And we dream about them. They threaten us every single day. Well, tonight I want to talk about some of those giants. And I think maybe you relate. And I've got 8 of them, and I hope I can get through. But number one, I have at the top the spiritual giant. Because you know, a lot of times you think you're on dead center. You're not going anywhere with your spiritual life. So it just say, boy, I wish I could go to a new level. Sometimes that just becomes a giant. And we find ourselves a year from now, we're just pedaling around the same mountain again. All right, that's a giant. Number 2, physical giants. Now those are real. Yes, well, so are the others. But physical giants, yeah. And you know, physical giants don't always clear up very easy. And you've probably been to every doctor you know of for the problem that you have. You've tried all the supplements. I have. Yeah, I get a lot of mail in my box, but it's mostly some supplements. Medical books, but nobody seems to fix it. So you live with it. Okay? Now we've covered 2, spiritual, physical. Let's look at the third one, the mental giant. You ever had a depression? I have. They're real. And they're a giant. And they don't go away just I'm not going to think like that anymore. No, they don't. They found a root in you of depression. I don't care how many psychiatrists you go to, and I'm not against them at all. But I'm just saying, nobody can plumb the depths of this mind of ours until he comes. And you know what got me out of my depression? The Word. You have the mind of Christ. I'd forgotten that. And boy, I tell you, I began to just parrot that and parrot that and paraphrase that. I have the mind of Christ. And you know, it wasn't very long before I came up to the level of it. So, we're going to go on. We're getting to the answers before we get to the problems. All right, so it's tough though. Sometimes we need bed rest when we have these mental giants. We have breakdowns. And you can't get over a loss. Losses are real too. I know about losses. Failure, opportunities that you lost. And sometimes it's the way you were raised. You said, I just can't believe that I had a lifestyle like I had growing up. And so it's caused a lifetime of just sort of depression and hopelessness. Number 4, I had the giant of addiction. Now I know when you think of addiction, you're thinking about drugs, whiskey, whatever, strong drink. Yeah, those are addictions. But you know, there are addictions that are with us for years. And as we go back to these other ones, we think that there's some fix for it. And that's sometimes what hooks us. We think, well, if I take a little bit of drink or a little bit of dope or a little bit of this, then I'll be able to cope. That's a lure. That's a lure, and pretty soon the addiction is just exactly that. It's addicted. It's an addiction. But then, you can be fixed too in your mind, in a mindset. And you say, well, that's just the way I am. I can't think any other way. All right, now we're going to move along. I told you we had 8. All right, the 5th one is, the 5th giant, is personality disorder. Oh, you say, come on, let's don't deal with that. This is not a psychiatrist's evaluation. My husband had one of those when he went to Mayo Clinic. And you know how they're going to have once a year? Well, all right, this was his yearly checkup, and it's time for the psychiatrist. So they all come in, and they were saying, okay, Reverend Polston, now let's see. What do you do for a good time? Well, he just sat there and didn't say anything. They said, well, do you drink? No. What, do you run with women? No. He said, no. Oh, what do you do? He said, I don't know anything but Jesus and the Bible. They looked at each other and they laughed. He said, you can go now. Well, amen. That's not all bad, is it? Anyway, so the giant of a personality. Now, sometimes that personality makes you believe things that aren't real. And some of these unreal things is, I can't make friends. I can maybe think I can, and maybe I think, oh, this one's going to be different, but you can't keep them. And so you sabotage the relationship. And pretty soon again, you say, there it goes again. Must be something terrible wrong with me. So you turn in yourself and you try to tinker with yourself. Find out what is wrong with me. And that even affects trying to have a conversation. And so you just rather go be by yourself. All right, number 6, the giant of inferiority. Now, a lot of us struggle with that. Yeah, and I think I could find some things in there that I could identify with. Because the enemy is always trying. Now, if he can't get that thought into your mind, he'll not have any thought or any power over you. Because that's where the enemy always starts, is in your mind. And then he goes on, he said, you're no good. And then you say, oh, I'm the ugly duck of my family. Whatever happened to me, I'm just like them. Well, I guess I can't win. I'll always be this way. All right, that's number 6. Number 7, that's another big one. The giant of family issues. Now, families are something we don't run away from. Not if we're really handling our lives appropriately. No, we'll stick in there. We'll hang on there. But sometimes it's just miserable to go home. You want to put your foot up and you just want to relax and sober, but there's so much strife in the home, you could just cut it. And you can't find any peace at home. That's a giant. So, we're on number 7. Number 8, a giant of unforgiveness. Now, don't tell me you haven't found one to fit yet, but I'll bet you have here. Somebody wronged you. They really did. They took something that was very precious to you. And you've been thinking about it. You said, no, I'm just not going to think about it anymore. What? You just think about it all the time. You go to bed thinking about it, get up thinking about it. And it's like you've got an umbilical cord that you're attached to the thing that you can't forgive. And boy, Jesus got pretty strong about forgiveness. He said, if you can't forgive men their trespasses, then I can't forgive you. Even when he was talking about, he said, if you have faith, he said, like a mustard seed, you could speak to that mountain over there and it'd go into the sea. That's how powerful faith is. But right beneath it, you know what he said? And if you have aught against any, take care of it. Forgive them. So there are conditions. If we want to be a mountain mover and say to the big stuff in life that just kind of hollers at us and keep us away from a divine purpose, then there's a bottom line, and that is to forgive. Now, we got to get some answers here, or we're just going to go home depressed. And you say, well, I didn't even think I had any giants till you came along. Well, don't kid yourself, we all have giants, or we have had them, and every once in a while they show their heads yet. But how did God's favorite man in the Bible, that's after the flesh, of course, favorite man, I think we all want to feel like we're God's favorite. But anyway, David. David was, in the lineage of Christ. And so Jesus, way on down the line, he loved to call himself the son of David. Even the last couple of verses in the Bible, he called himself the son of David. How's that for a name dropper? He and David had something going. So I want to just, for starters, let's say, how did David handle it? Now I have these listed too, so if you want to start over with some of the answers, okay, I think I have about 5 or 6 of those. So here we go. Number 1, how did he handle it? First of all, we know David to be a shepherd. But not only that, he had a shepherd. And the 23rd is so simple. I have read that and read that and read it, and every time I read that, I see something else. But one of the things I just love in it is in the first line. The Lord is my shepherd. I mean, thank God for your shepherd, but thank God for my shepherd. And I say that to Craig, thank God for your shepherd, but thank God for mine. He is yours. He has tailored himself to be our shepherd. He leads us beside the still waters. We shall not want. He puts a table before me in the presence of our enemies. He restores our soul. He chases us, he said, with goodness and mercy all the days of our life. Oh my, I left out of a lot of it, but I just want to refresh you again. I wish we had more time to talk about that wonderful, wonderful, great psalm. All right, let's go on. He had a shepherd. Okay, you say, well, I got a shepherd too. Okay, we got that settled. Let's go on with number 2. David had a resume, a track record. Every day of our life, we're writing a resume. And that resume says faithfulness. Now, you know, there wasn't anything that he loved better, not even the throne, which he was for 40 years. He loved to be a shepherd. He knew all their names. Yeah, the Bible said that they all knew his voice. And it said a stranger's voice they wouldn't follow. Whew, my, that is so good. That when you hear the shepherd's voice, you say, no, that's not my shepherd. But then you hear the voice. Yeah, that's my shepherd. Time to go home. The shepherd lays down while the other sheep, or the sheep go in. And he lays there all night lest some predator comes and tries to get his sheep. Oh, Jesus laid down his life. And the devil has never been able to get across that line. All right, the next one. Number 3. David, we're on David. David had a cause that was greater than his giants. He walked up the side of the road, or side of the place there. His daddy said he was cheese and meat and stuff to eat, and goat milk probably, or sheep milk, I don't know. They don't have it, I guess they don't have goats too. But anyway, he's going up the hill and he hears this bellowing coming from the opposite mountain hill. And all of a sudden he sees all the people, they're all dressed for battle. And he said, boy, I got here just in time. What are they doing? They're running away. Scared to death. What are they scared of? A giant. Yeah, that they had giants in those days. They did. This one, I think, was 9 feet tall. But they did have in the very early days, and we don't have time to go into that, but just believe me, they had giants. But this giant was a head of another country, and very proud, very arrogant. And every time he came out, he said, I want you to give me just one man. I just asked for one man. Now he said, if you give me one man, he said, and I defeat him, then he said, we'll come and be your slaves. Well, he said, but if I defeat him, you'll come and be our slaves. Kind of arrogant, don't you think? So David listened, but you know, he heard differently than they did. Where are you going? You're all dressed for war. Oh yes, we're dressed for battle. Dressed for battle, but where's the battle? And so he began to ask a lot of questions. What's the matter with you up here? You don't act like Israel. And then he made a statement I've never forgotten. Is there not a cause? Do you have a cause that eats you up? It gets you up in the morning. It makes you wash your face and put your clothes on and go back at it. Why? The cause and you have become one. That's what David had. Is there not a cause? So somebody said, who is this upstart anyway? And his brothers, of course, they said, why don't you be quiet? You're embarrassing us. We know you just come up here to see the battle. What battle? Finally, some said, you know, this kid that's talking, I think we ought to take him to the king. So King Saul, he'd been running like the rest, scared. The anointing is gone off of him now. And so they took him to King Saul, and he said, I want to go fight that giant. You what? I want to fight that giant. He said, you can't do that. He's been a warrior ever since he was just a young man. Look at him today. Yeah. No, he's strong, and you're just a kid. He said, you want to see my resume? I killed a lion, and I killed a bear. And I did it with my bare hands because they were coming after my sheep. What did Jesus do on the cross? Yeah, he went after that predator too. And he chased him off the battleground, didn't he? Yeah, so he couldn't get the sheep. All right, so he said, Well, go on, kid. In other words, he's saying to himself, what have we got to lose? Just one more. He said, by the way, you better wear my armor. So he thought, well, I can't displease the king. So he takes that great big armor and he puts it down. He's just a kid, about 16, and he said, do I have to wear these? Well, no. Well, he said, I really haven't proved these. He said, I really haven't proved very much, he said, except what I've already told you about. But he said, there's one thing I do know how to use. Yes? He said, it's this. So he pulls out a little sling. Oh dear. Well, goodbye. He said, that takes care of him. So what does he do? He makes a beeline down to the valley. That valley is very important. Do you know? You learn about giants when you're in the valley. I think the most significant times of my life of learning about God is when I had to overcome something and I was in the valley. And you know, I had to look for the stones, those smooth stones, those stones that go right to the mark, those stones that it could hit a giant right between the eyes and bring him down and say, you're lying to me. I don't believe you. And win over the giant. So he didn't say a word. Got that sling on his side. He picked up 5. He only needed 1. But he had 4 more. You know why? And of course, this is a joke. The giant had 4 brothers. He really did have brothers. But I don't know that those 4 were him, but I think it makes a good statement. So, puts it in his sling, and the giant studied him. And you know what? The giants in our life, they're kind of stubborn. They don't want to go anywhere. No, they found a nest too long. That didn't daunt David. He had proved that sling. Yeah. He'd been out to the practicing range. The bears and the lions knew when he was defending the flock. And so, what'd he do? He starts running toward the giant. And the giant said, who is this kid they've sent over to me? This is degrading. And he said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do to you. Now listen, those devils in you, they've got a chant. They do. And the chant is, I'll get you this time. I'm going to bring you down. You're not able. You're nobody. You're nothing. You know? No, I guess I'm not. I guess I'm not. Not David. No, he said, you're coming to me with a spear and a sword. But I am coming to you with a name. Jesus said to the disciples, he said, I know you've been out of shape because I'm going back to heaven. But he said, don't worry, men. I'm sending the Comforter, the Holy Spirit, that will be with you. And you will be champions. And you will be my replica in the earth. And so, he said, but before he left, he said, men, use my name. Use my name. He said, when you pray to the Father, pray in my name. Because the Father, when I get there, I'll say, here's my church. And so he said, the Father will put everything into my hands. Everything that was in heaven and earth. He said, son, it's yours. And Jesus loved the church and gave himself for it. And he said, can I give it to my church? And the Lord has equipped us, and all those chants of the enemy, they're of no effect. We don't believe them anymore. Why? We use the name. That is one of the strongest weapons that ever could be in our life, is to have the name of Jesus. Now, I want to just say tonight, I'm sure that the Goliaths know how to chant and tell you what you're not. And I sometimes want to shout back and say, don't tell me what I'm not. Tell me what I am. Sometimes I want to say that to a preacher who preaches every Sunday about what I'm not. And I want to say, will you please just tell me what I am someday? That I am a child of God? That I am able? That I am equipped? Because that's what the Word says. And I believe the Word. But most preachers wouldn't do that. So, that's our chant. Now, the Bible says that at the name, every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. All right? I'm going to sing a song now, or I'm going to talk it to you, I don't know which. Arise, my soul, arise. Shake off thy guilty fears. The bleeding sacrifice in my behalf appears. The Spirit answers to the blood. The Spirit answers to the blood and tells me I am born of God. In the name of Jesus, in the name of Jesus, we have the victory. In the name of Jesus, in the name of Jesus, demons will have to flee. Who can tell what God will do? Yes, who can tell you of His love for you? In the name of Jesus, in the name of Jesus, we have the victory. In the name of Jesus, in the name of Jesus, demons will have to flee. Who can tell what God can do? Who can tell? Who can tell of His love for you? In the mighty name of Jesus, we have the victory. Go and know that you are the champion and that you have overcome the world and the flesh and the devil. God bless you. Have a wonderful week.